This is Tanner Rainbolt. This is my case study for EDL 850 School Law, Internet Use Violations Threats over the World Wide Web. Category 1, the problem and analysis. What do I know? This is occurring at Slattery Steno High, which is an affluent area. Dr. Harvey Smith was the former principal of the year 2 years ago. He's the principal involved in the situation. Ms. Tate is a second-year science teacher. She teaches the experience science classes such as zoology. Ms. Tate and Dr. Smith have experienced student and parental complaints about Ms. Tate and her expectations in her classroom management. Ms. Tate receives an email link, which she discovers is a Facebook page, and the Facebook page talks about her students, commenting on her, teaching style. And I'll get more into that here in a minute. What do I need to know? Number 1, can the tech department find out who created the page? What does the process look by that? Number 2, what is the school policy on misuse of technology? What is the cyberbullying policy? Number 3, what are the consequences for this person? What's the discipline policy look like? What are some previous cases similar to this, and what were the outcomes? The next one is legal aspects. What ramifications can come from this? I need to talk with the SRO, talk with the district lawyer, see what that looks like, and how can we prevent this from happening further? Hopefully this is just a one-time thing, and can we rebuild those relationships, rebuild that trust back? Identifying the problem. Ms. Tate has had some issues with parents and students within her class, just complaining about her class is too hard, that her expectations are really high. She receives a link to a Facebook group with comments such as, "Who wants to see Ms. Tate disappear?" She tells Dr. Smith, who is going to investigate further. Category 2, plan of action and implementation. Number 1, just reviewing the district technology policy. What does that look like? Have the IT department try to track down the website and who created it. Also alert the superintendent about the website, get their opinion on it, and talk about legal aspects with the SRO and district lawyer just to see what the ramifications could be from this. Number 2, conference with the student in question. So Ms. Tate thinks it's William Hall. He's had issues in the past in her class, but I want to make sure that I also talk with the other students in the class to see if it possibly could be somebody else. I want to give Will the benefit of the doubt. I want to talk with the parents whose students are involved in the situation. I want to update Ms. Tate and the superintendent, along the process, and just that there will be possible consequences and legal ramifications from whoever created the Facebook page. So the action on that. Number 3, take steps to make sure that this doesn't happen again. I want to educate students about the acceptable use policy, require their signature. I'll go into that more in a second. Number 2, I want to educate parents on the acceptable use policy and also require their signature so both the student and the parent are aware. And I want to include the policy and consequences in the student handbook, send out a newsletter, provide resources, maybe post bulletin boards or posters throughout the school, something like that. Category 3, resolving the issue. I want to promote the academic success and personal well-being of every student. I want to make sure students are made aware of the technology policy and the consequences. So an example is I could include it in the student handbook, maybe in like a seminar class or a specific class. Students will go over that at the beginning of the year so that they're made aware of the technology use policy. Number 2, I want to provide resources and review classroom management with Ms. Tate. She's had some issues in the past. Dr. Smith has talked to her about it, but just providing her with resources to get better as a teacher will improve the learning for all students. And then number 3, promote a safe learning environment. So I said talk about posting posters or bulletin boards on digital citizenship and cyberbullying and, some ways that a technology is acceptable to use and some ways that it might not be. Just providing students with, those resources throughout the school. Category 4, debrief. First, I'm going to talk about thinking. So number 1, how can we track this to find the person responsible? What does that look like from the IT department? Number 2, what is our current technology acceptable use policy? What does that look like? Number 3, what legal ramifications can come about from this? Again, talking to the superintendent, talking to the SRO, talking to if there's a district lawyer, just to see what the legal ramifications can be like. Number 4, could this have been avoided if Ms. Tate had changed her expectations? So she was made aware beforehand about maybe making some changes to her class. If she would have made those changes, would this have happened? at all. And number 5, how can we prevent this from happening again? Hopefully this is just a one-time thing, and the students and Ms. Tate and myself and everybody involved can hopefully learn from this process. I'm feeling concerned for Ms. Tate and her well-being. She essentially had a threat. I don't know how real it was, but depends on the findings, but a threat made on her. So I'm concerned for her. I'm frustrated that this incident occurred and that students are being very disrespectful. Obviously it's not an appropriate thing for students to be doing. And number 3, I'm hoping that this can be an opportunity for growth, not only for the students involved, but Ms. Tate. Hopefully that we can rebuild that relationship, that trust, and we can move on and grow from this experience. Category 4, debrief, thinking, feeling, valuing. The last part, valuing. I value the staff members. I want to make sure that Ms. Tate is supported and set a good example that I will support staff members. Number 2, I want to support those students, and I value, if they have any information regarding the investigation. Number 3, I value the parents, and I want to communicate with them if their student is involved in the situation. I value a safe learning environment, and I also value the opinion of the superintendent. I want to keep them in the loop. I want to use them as a resource for this investigation as well. Some unresolved issues that I have is, 1, will there be enough evidence to find who created the page? Will the district or Ms. Tate decide to press charges against the student in question? Will Ms. Tate change her classroom management style? I think that's key here. And why was Will never reported to the principal about his previous behavior? So Ms. Tate accused him right off the bat that she thought it was him, just based on his previous behavior in his class. Just why was Dr. Smith not made aware of this up until this point? Category 5, professional ethics, component number 1, the educational leader at the building level applied knowledge that promoted the success of every student by acting with integrity. The first one is keeping the investigation on a need-to-know basis, just involving people who are in the situation. Not the whole staff doesn't need to know. Not every parent or student that's not involved does not need to know, but just keeping the investigation on a need-to-know basis, I think, is important. Number 2, follow the district policies on the consequences that the student might have for violating the technology use policy. And number 3, just communicating with the proper personnel and parents involved. I want to make sure that parents are made aware of what's going on as well. Category 5, professional ethics, component number 2, the educational leader at the building level applied knowledge that promoted the success of every student by acting with fairness. The first step, I didn't assume it was William who created the page. Even though Ms. Tate thought it was him right off the bat, I wanted to conduct a thorough and fair investigation, questioning all the students who might have been involved. Number 2, I want to support, I was fair by supporting Ms. Tate. Even with the prior knowledge and warnings, it's still not okay for, students to be talking about her like that. And number 3, I want to collaborate with Ms. Tate on how to improve her teaching, provide her with a plan of improvement. Maybe she attends, some professional development, some seminars on classroom management, things like that, just so she can get better as a teacher and, provide her with those resources as well. Category 5, professional ethics, component number 3, the educational leader at the building level applied knowledge that promoted the success of every student by acting in an ethical manner. The first one, I'm allowing Ms. Tate to take some time to, maybe provide her with a sub just to re-energize, debrief from the situation, step back from it, and hopefully that we can come back with making improvements to her teaching, hopefully rebuilding all those relationships. Number 2, respect both Ms. Tate and the students' right during the investigation, that every student is, innocent until proven guilty, that I'm going to conduct a thorough, investigation. And the last one, just follow the district protocol and acceptable use policies and consequences ethically, just following the steps that are in place. So that was my case study. Thank you.